All right, this video is going to be on the muscular system. Muscles come from the Latin word mus or musculus, which means little mouse. They felt that the flexing of the muscles looked like mice scurrying beneath the skin. Whether or not that looks that way to you is that way, but that's where the word comes from. Muscles make up nearly half of the body's mass. They are what generally forms like the flesh of our body that we see. So they're a really big deal. The essential function of muscles is contraction or shortening. They do relax, but that occurs basically due to the contraction of other muscles. This contraction makes them responsible for all body movements. They can be viewed as the machines of the body that allow us to interact with our world. This contraction is the essential function of muscles. We have three types of muscles. I'm going to focus a little bit more on them than we did in the histology unit, but again, you'll remember these from the histology section. So there are three types of muscles tissue: cardiac, skeletal, and smooth. They differ in cell structure, where they're located in the body, how they're stimulated to contract, and a couple of other different things. You'll also find if they're striated or not, if they're voluntary or involuntary, that sort of stuff. Similarities. Skeletal and smooth muscle are both very elongated muscle fibers. Cardiac muscle are these short, truncated cells. The ability of muscle to contract in all cases depends on myofilaments. This prefix myo and the mis and the sarco, they're going to refer to things in the muscular system or to muscles. So when you see them, you can sort of assume we're talking about the muscular system. Okay, so skeletal muscles. We're going to be focusing most of this unit on skeletal muscles. So we're going to talk a bit about just the tissue type here and then focus on how they work and different types of them later. So these cells are also called fibers. They're packaged into whole organs called skeletal muscles. They attach to the skeleton, hence the name skeletal muscles, by tendons, these connective tissue pieces. They are these huge cigar-shaped multinucleate cells. So skeletal muscles have multiple nuclei. They can be really large, so they can be at least a foot in length. They're so big, I mean, like you see them all bundled up, and they can stretch the entire length of the muscle there, the single cells. Skeletal muscles can contract rapidly and with relatively great force. They are striated, so they have visible banding. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, and like what actually makes those bands. They're voluntary. I consciously control my skeletal muscles to move my arms and my legs and to talk, all of those different things. They can exert lots of power. As mentioned, they can move pretty fast and with lots of strength. And because we have bundles and bundles of them all together to make single muscles, like our organ muscles, that's why we can lift things that are significantly heavy or move things that are significantly large without tearing our muscles that frequently because they're all working together. These fibers bundle into large groups, and these make the muscles that we see. They're covered in a connective tissue, as you can see here, and then they attach to bones, again, by a tendon, which is a type of connective tissue. In addition to producing movement, skeletal muscle also plays three major body roles. It helps maintain our posture. This functions all of the time, making little adjustments, because there's this constant pull of gravity. So we need to constantly have muscles moving a bit to maintain our posture if we're standing or sitting, right? There's this constant pull of gravity, and muscles help us stay not on the floor. Stabilizes joints. As skeletal muscles pull on bones, they're stabilizing the joints of the skeleton. They also generate body heat. So this is a byproduct of muscle activity. As ATP is broken down for muscles, that like at least 3/4 of the energy, nearly 3/4 of the energy is actually lost as heat. And this provides a lot of our heat for our body, which is a big deal. We need to have body heat in order to survive. Smooth muscles. These do not have striations, hence the no like banding, hence the term smooth. They're involuntary, which means I do not consciously think them to work. They're found mainly in the walls of hollow organs. Think the organs of the digestive system, the urinary system. They're found in the walls of our blood vessels. So in these hollow organs, and they propel substances along a specific path or track that has sort of been designated. Generally, they have cells that are occurring in two different directions. So one might be going in one direction, another might be going, like one might be going this way, another might be going this way. And so because of that, they can sort of like alternatively contract and relax, and that will allow that propelling movement down the length of whatever organ this is. They're spindle shaped, so they have these sort of shorter cells that come to these tapered ends. One nucleus per cell, unlike skeletal muscles, and they don't have much connective tissue, again, unlike skeletal muscles. Cardiac muscles only found in the heart. It forms the bulk of the heart walls. The heart needs all of this muscle in order to propel blood throughout the body. And so that's an incredibly important function of the heart, and it needs that muscle to do so. Cardiac muscle is striated just like skeletal muscle, but it is involuntary like smooth muscle. It is cushioned by a small amount of connective tissue. And they're arranged in these spiral-shaped bundles, as you can see here, that are going to help the functioning there. The cells are short, and they have branches. They're unlike any other muscle in the body when it comes to that. And these cells are joined by these thick sections called intercalated discs that are like gap junctions. Okay, so these junctions that are like joining the cells, clamping them together. These spiral arrangement of the bundles allow the heart activity to be closely coordinated. The intercalated discs allow for the signals that are asking these muscles to contract to flow really easily between cells, so that all of the cells are contracting at once. That would be ideal. I want all of my heart cells to contract in the right time, at the same time with the ones nearby them, so that when the ventricle contracts, the whole ventricle contracts, Cardiac muscle usually contracts at a steady rate set by sort of like an internal pacemaker. It, of course, can get stimulated by the nervous system to shift into like high gear for short periods of time, like when you run or something, your heart rate can increase. And that will be it for the intro to the muscular system and types of muscles.